Hello everybody, my name is Storm, and today I'm going over how to initialize GameSparks and use authentication. I'm going to start with creating a game. In my case, I'm gonna name it Tutorial Project. The description will be, this is a tutorial project. In your case, you can name it whatever you want, and you can make the description whatever you want. And in my case, I want to automatically end player sessions after 2 minutes after they disconnect. Ooh. Oh, can I not? Okay, there we go. Then let's click next. On top here we have currencies. I'm gonna not do anything with currencies for now, and I'm gonna set them up later down the line in another video. But if you want, you can set up right now currencies. If you want, for example, a currency for just like general currency, and the player will get like 1,500 currency on sign up. You can do that all here, or you can do that later also here, and like in another screen, but you can change it later down the line. That's what I meant. On the left here we have platform features. Here we can disable or enable platform features we want. For my case, I want to keep everything on, but in your case, you probably, if you don't need a specific thing, you can always turn it off. On the right here, we have other software integrations. I'm not going too much into detail with those for now, but you can connect other softwares with GameSparks and use, for example, other authentication. But for now, let's just go next. And over here, we can set our primary region. For me, it's gonna be Europe. And over here we can, for example, ban certain countries or restrict them from accessing the project. For now, I don't really care, so I'm just gonna click create. But for you, if you, for example, can't really sell a game in a region, you can just say, oh, we have that country and we block it, so people from there can't make an account because there's some issues maybe. But yeah, so I'm just gonna click create. Next up, we will need our Unreal Engine plugin. So we're gonna head over to Learn, SDK Center, and Unreal Engine. Once we're here, we're going over to Issues, Support for 422, and there we go. And we're just gonna download the zip, because the official one is currently, I think, outdated. I mean, I had issues and I'm fine with this branch, so I'm just gonna use that one. Next up, I wanna click on my Unreal Launcher, click 4.22. Wait till it's launched up. Create a new project, and this is gonna be a GameSparks tutorial project, and I'm gonna click create. After it is done, I'm gonna click on here, and just to have a quick way to go to my Explorer. And in here, I want to just click on GameSparks tutorial. I'm gonna close down my engine and maximize this. Next up, I'm just gonna click new folder and create a plugins folder. And in that plugins folder, I'm gonna open my GameSparks CPP Unreal Master, go into plugins, go into GameSparks, and drag and drop that into here, and then launch my engine, and yes. After our engine launched, we want to head over to Edit, Plugins, go all the way down, and make sure our GameSparks plugin is initialized. If we go over here and it's not initialized, we just need to click Enable, and then it prompts us to restart the project, which you should be doing. Next up, I'm gonna make 2 folders. One of them will be called Blueprint, and the other one gonna be called UI. UI I will deal with in the second part of this tutorial. First, we wanna make a Blueprint class, which is gonna be a game instance. What we want to call this is GI main, or you can use any kind of game instance that already exists for the project you're working on. In here, I want to call initialize, event initialize, there we go. And we want to construct 2 objects. Construct object from class, and the first will be a GameSparks object. And who wants to create it is self, not select, a self node. There we go. Let's get a reference to self and promote this to a variable, which we're gonna GS object ref. Actually, let's do it the other way around. Reference underscore GS object. Second object we want to create is a GS message listener. Create object from class GS message listener object. I think so. GS messenger listen object. Yeah, it is an object. And then I can just reroute this, make it look a bit cleaner. And we also want to promote this to a variable, which is gonna be ref game state object ref GS message object. There we go. And what I want to do next is I want to hit my GS object, and if we have any existing connection, we want to disconnect. Next up, we want to set up to listen for messages, and we want to set up the connection to GameSparks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make 2 custom events. The first one is gonna be custom event connect to GameSparks, and we want to get this. We want to bind on GameSparks availability delegate. Okay, that's the wrong one. Bind event to GameSparks. That's the right one. And what we want to do here is we want to create a function. We're gonna call on GameSparks available, and we're just gonna set a branch. And when GameSparks isn't available, we can run something, and if it's available, we can run something. We're gonna run something off the true in a second, but for now, let's just take this node and we do a connect. With this, we connect to GameSparks with our API key and our secret, which can easily be found if you look on your GameSparks site. Let me open the website really quickly. Log myself in. And in your portal, you can see your API key and your secret. I'm gonna fill mine out after the video, just I don't want to leak any of my information. After we set up the connect, make sure you fill out your API key and your secret. We want to make another custom event, which we're gonna call setup message listener. And what we want to do is we want to get our message reference object, and we want to bind on message, bind event on message on on script message. Script message. There we go. And with that, we want to just make an event, which is going to be a custom event on script message received, and we're going to do stuff later with it. For now, we're just going to keep that here and move it a bit down. And yeah, what we want to do next is really quickly create a player controller, which we're just gonna PC_main. And inside player controller, we want to make a function, a custom event, not a function. Actually, we can make a function. Let's make a function. f_create login widget. There we go. And on create login widget, we want to create a widget, which we're going to create in a second. Let's start with creating set widget. Go into UI, user interface, widget blueprint, login. What we want to do in here is on construct, we want to get game instance, and we want to create, we don't want to create a widget, we want to cast to GI main. Then we want to promote this to a variable. Promote to variable, ref GI main. With that done, let's create a vertical box, place it in here, roughly get it in the center. If you work on a proper game, I highly recommend though taking your time with creating widgets, because widgets are important, and it's important to make your widget look good. Due to me just making a tutorial, I'm just gonna make a quick and easy one. So let's create two buttons. One of them is register, one of them is login. Let's set them both to fill, text, which is register, and login. And then text boxes, two of them in here. There you go. There you go. Set this to fill. Set a spacer in there, right below it, and in between it, and then set it to fill. So now we have two buttons, one for register, one for login. I'm just gonna, out of convenience, switch them around. Button register, button login. And what we want to, this is user text box underscore username, and this is text box underscore password. There we go, and we want the hint text to be password. Right now it's really small, so what I'm gonna do is wrap it with a scale box, both of them. Wrap with scale box. So I'm gonna set them both. Oh yeah, I need to also go in the box itself and just set it to fill. And this is gonna be with the hint text username. There we go. On login, on register, we want to get the text in here. And we want to do the same with the username. We want to do this for both. And what we want next up want to create is the game instance events. Let's go back to our game instance main, and don't be confused about this one. This is just to hide my GameSparks information. And what we want to do now is we want to call connect to GameSparks. And what we want to do down here is set up messenger listener. Set up message listener. There There we go. And one thing we want to get player controller cast to PC main, and then we want to call the event which we created in there, which is what was it? PC main create login widget. Create login widget. There we go. And then let's go to PC main. Look for the beginning of the function. Create widget, which is gonna be the PC widget BP login, and we want to add it to viewport. There we go. That's all we have to do in that front. So if it's actually getting initialized, it will create that widget. So next up, we want a authentication request and a registration request, and both of them will need a custom event. So let's make a custom event authentication request, and let's copy paste that and make a event login request. There we go. What we're gonna do is we're gonna plug this in here, and in authentication request it's password username, and then we want to check has errors. If we don't have errors, we remove all widgets, remove all widgets. Can we get username from here? Yeah, display name, and then print string this. So if everything goes well, we should be printing the string and actually make it append to this and get the connected to user. Nah, let's call it authenticated user, and then where's it? Display name. There we go. So when we authenticate, we want to run this. Let's clean this up a little, make it look a little less messy. And on here, we want to plug this into here. And for now, I'm just gonna put display name in here, username and password in the second one. I just want, don't want to create more. I just want to use one for both. You can also go like, you want this to be separate nodes, and you have like a special widget for that. So you have username different, password different, and display name different. You can also do that. But for the sake of simplicity, I'm gonna keep it this way. Then I want to branch and check for errors. And you want to return couldn't register user. There we go. And if it worked, we want another authentication request, which we're gonna plug in down here, which we're gonna get the username and the password for. And we want to call registered user. There we go. So it goes in here. It authenticates the user. If it has no errors, it removes all widget and prints this. And on here it registers, and then right after it authenticates, so it registers the user and then authenticates it, so it registers and logs it in right away. Otherwise you would need to register and then run this code. So it's just a bit simpler to keep it this way. And yeah, so let's go back to our widget blueprint login, take our GI main and authentication request. There we go. This is password, this is username, registration. We have that issue again. I don't know why it's getting caused, but sometimes I'm getting this error with my blueprints. So if we go up, we have a weird looking, at least I have a weird looking node. request. I don't know why, but I hope this is not causing any issues. I'm gonna look later what could be causing this, but yeah. So now we are calling this, so I think we're ready to just test it out. So what we want to do is we want to create a game mode GM main. We want to set our player controller in GM main. Set GM main over here. And I'm gonna just make sure for now project settings, maps and modes, GM main is in here, and GM main is in here. Good. So if we click play now, we should see our widget, and let's type in a username. Test1234. Password is 1234, and we click register. We registered user 1234. And if we go in our data explorer under system and players and find players, we can see we now have a user called test1234, test1234, and then the password. So yeah, this was it for the first tutorial. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you in further tutorials about GameSparks. With that said, I wish you all have a fantastic day, and goodbye.